Hello and welcome to grammar class. Today's lesson is tense changes in direct to indirect speech. You see, we know that while changing from the direct to the indirect narration, we have to change the tense of the reported verb if the reporting verb is in a past tense. The verb within the inverted commas or in the direct speech is known as the reported verb. So it's clear that in narration change, if the reporting verb is in a past tense, the tense of the verb in the direct speech will also be changed according to the rules of sequence of tenses. However, if the reporting verb is in present tense or future tense, the tense of the reported verb will not be changed in indirect narration. But why is it necessary to change the tense of the reported verb if the reporting verb is in a past tense? You see, a reporting verb in the past tense indicates that the speaker's statement was made some time back. So at the time of reporting the statement, it may not still hold true or be relevant. In other words, in indirect narration, we change the tense of the reported verb in order to time the statement or the information correctly. I hope the concept of tense changes in reported speech is now clear to you. In English grammar, this change of tenses in indirect narration is known as backshift of tenses. In narration change, the backshifting of tenses means when the reporting verb is in the past tense, we change the tense of the reported verb to its corresponding past tense. In other words, we change the tense of the reported verb one tense back in the past from the tense that is used in the direct speech. The corresponding past tense means simple present to simple past, present continuous to past continuous, present perfect to past perfect, and so on. So this is what backshifting of tenses means in narration change. So like I said earlier, when the reporting verb is in the past tense, because the statement no longer holds true at the time of reporting, we resort to backshifting of tenses in the indirect narration. Now I am going to explain the backshifting rules in reported speech. With the reporting verb in the past tense, the simple present becomes simple past in indirect narration. For example, he said, "I prefer coffee to tea." This is direct speech. Here the reporting verb said is in the past tense, but the reported verb prefer is in the simple present tense. So in the indirect narration, we change it into the simple past tense, preferred. He said that he preferred coffee to tea. According to the rules of narration change, the personal pronoun I has been changed as he. Now, if the reported verb is in the present continuous tense in the direct narration, it becomes past continuous in the indirect narration. They said to me, "It is raining here." Now, the reporting verb said is in the simple past tense, and the reported verb in the statement is raining is in the present continuous tense in direct narration. So, in the indirect narration, we will change it to the past continuous tense. They told me that it was raining there. Of course, the other necessary changes, such as the change of personal pronouns and adverbs, are also effected here. And then, with the reporting verb in past tense, the present perfect is changed as the corresponding past tense, past perfect in the indirect narration. For example, I said the rain has stopped. Here said is the reporting verb in the past tense and has stopped is the reported verb in the present perfect tense. So in the indirect speech, the present perfect becomes the past perfect. I said that the rain had stopped. Had stopped becomes had stopped. When the reporting verb is in the past tense and the reported verb in the direct narration is in the present perfect continuous tense, we change the tense of the reported verb into the past perfect continuous in the indirect narration. He said it has been raining here for half an hour. Now, the reporting verb said is in the past tense, and the reported verb in the direct narration has been raining is in the present perfect continuous tense. So, in the indirect narration, according to the backshifting rules, we will use the reported verb in the past perfect continuous tense. He said that it had been raining there for half an hour. Please notice that the adverb here is changed as there in the indirect narration. Now we will see how a past tense in the direct speech is treated in the indirect narration. Well, the simple past is changed to the past perfect in the reported speech. We have seen earlier that the present perfect is also changed as past perfect in the indirect narration. The doctor said the patient died last night. Here we have a simple past tense verb died in the direct narration. In the indirect speech, we will change it to the past perfect tense. The doctor said that the patient had died the night before. Had died is the past perfect tense. And the adverbial phrase last night has been changed as the night before. Now, if you have the past continuous tense in the direct speech, make it past perfect continuous in the indirect speech. But let me remind you yet again that these tense changes are effected only if the reporting verb is in the past tense. For example, my father said, I was reading a novel. Here in the direct speech, the reported verb was reading is in the past continuous tense. So in the indirect narration, we will convert it to the past perfect continuous tense. My father said that he had been reading a novel. Here in the indirect narration, the reported verb had been reading is in the past perfect continuous tense. However, when the reported verb in the direct speech is in the past perfect tense, there will be no change in the indirect narration. Why? Because no further backshifting is possible from the past perfect tense. Now see this example on your screen. He said to me, I had returned before midnight. As you can see here in the direct speech, the reported verb had returned is already in the past perfect tense. Hence, in the indirect narration, there will be no change of tense, and the reported verb will remain in the same past perfect tense. He told me that he had returned before midnight. In the same way, if the reported verb is in the past perfect continuous tense in the direct speech, there will be no change of tense in the indirect narration. For example, in the sentence, he said, I had been working for 30 years before my retirement, the reporting verb said is in the past tense and the reported verb had been working is in the past perfect continuous tense. Hence, while changing the narration, there will be no change of tense, and in the indirect narration also, the reported verb will remain in the past perfect continuous tense. He said that he had been working for 30 years before his retirement. Well then, if the reporting verb is in the past tense, modal verbs are also changed to their past forms in the indirect narration. Will and shall, the modal auxiliaries of future tenses, are also changed to would and should respectively in indirect speech. We change the modal verb can to its past form could, may to its past form might, and for the modal must we use had to in indirect speech. But all these only if the reporting verb is in the past tense. Now up there on your screen are some examples to show how modal verbs are changed in the reported speech. I said to him, I will save you. This is direct narration and the reporting verb said is in the past tense. Hence, in the indirect narration, the modal verb will be changed to would. I told him that I would save him. Will becomes would in the indirect narration because the reporting verb told is in the past tense. This is in accordance with the rules of the sequence of tenses. He said, I can do this work. Here too, the reporting verb said is in the past tense. so the model can become good in indirect narration. He said that he could do that work. You will notice that all the other rules of narration change are being followed here as well. He said, "It may rain today." Here too, with the reporting verb said in the past tense, we have to change the modal may to might in indirect narration. He said that it might rain that day. They said to us, "We must leave at once." As the reporting verb said is in the past tense, in the indirect narration, we will replace the modal must with had to. They told us that we had to leave at once. However, for the modal verbs already in their past forms, like could, might, and should, there will be no change of tense in indirect narration. Same is the rule for the semi-modals ought to and used to. For example, he said, "I could not pass the test." This is direct narration, but in indirect narration also, the modal could will be retained as it is. It won't be changed. He said that he could not pass the test. "You should not smoke so much," the doctor said to John. We don't have to change the modal should in indirect speech. The doctor told John that he should not smoke so much. Sometimes in the direct speech, the quoted statement expresses a universal or an eternal truth. But then, what is a universal truth? What is an eternal truth? Well, a universal truth, as the name suggests, is a fact that is universally true, or that is true worldwide, that is everywhere in the world. And an eternal truth is a timeless truth, something that holds true forever, that does not change with time. In short, a universal truth or an eternal truth does not change with place or time. Now the rule is, while changing from the direct to the indirect speech, even if the reporting verb is in the past tense, we do not change or backshift the tense of the reported verb if it expresses an eternal or a universal truth. In other words, if the statement in the direct speech holds true or remains relevant forever, there is no need to change its tense even in the indirect narration. Now here are some examples of this rule on your screen. Tom said the sun rises in the east. Now in the direct speech, the quoted statement expresses an eternal truth. So though the reporting verb said is in the past tense, the tense of the reported verb rises won't be backshifted or changed into its corresponding past tense. It will remain in the simple present tense in the indirect speech. Why? Because even at the time of reporting, at a later point of time, the statement still holds true. Tom said that the sun rises in the east. Water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, the teacher said to her students. Now here too, the quoted statement expresses an eternal truth about the freezing point of water. So there will be no change of tense in the indirect speech, even though the reporting verb said is in the past tense. The teacher told her students that water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius. Father said to me, "Honesty is the best policy." Now here in the direct speech, we have a statement that expresses a universal truth. Honesty is greatly appreciated everywhere in the world, and it will remain that way forever. So when we report this statement in the indirect narration, even if the reporting verb is in the past tense, we will not change the tense of the reported verb. And here it goes. Father told me that honesty is the best policy. Now in the concluding segment of the video, we will discuss what if the statement still holds true or remains relevant at the time of reporting, even though it's not a universal truth or an eternal truth. Yes, sometimes even a general statement of the speaker may still remain true or relevant at the time of reporting shortly thereafter. In such cases, backshifting or change of tense in the indirect speech becomes optional. As such, there is no need for backshifting or change of tense if the statement is still true at the time of reporting it. For example, I said to her, "My brother is a doctor." Now we understand that the fact that the speaker's brother is a doctor will remain true even at the time of reporting it. So here there is no need to change the tense of the reported verb in the indirect narration. I told her that my brother is a doctor. So the whole thing is that if the statement still holds true at the time of reporting it in the indirect narration, there is no need for backshifting. But remember, in formal English, sometimes backshifting of tenses is done in such cases. He said to us, "He will not play today." Here too the quoted statement is still relevant at the time of reporting it in the indirect narration. So the reported verb remains in the same simple future tense. He just informed us that he will not play today. He said, "I have 2 sisters." As you can see, here the speaker's statement expresses a fact that's going to remain true even at the time of reporting it in the indirect narration. So no change of tense in the indirect narration in spite of the reporting verb being in the simple past tense. He said that he has 2 sisters. If you liked our video, please do like and share it, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell for more such grammatical content. Thanks for watching.